And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you, Dr. Bernard Haisch and Marsha Sims with us, their book, The Miracle of Our Universe. Marsha, we were talking about why bad things happen to good people, and you were going to tell us a couple examples.
Oh, yes. We spent a lot of time thinking about this because it is kind of a heartbreaking thing to happen.
Sure.
But in the God model, it's important to remember that we're sparks of God's consciousness temporarily inhabiting virtual bodies. Even though we have a long road ahead of us, we have many circumstances yet to come to our lives. It could be a case that we have karma to reckon with. Karma is destiny that you earn through your actions and behavior. When you behave kindly, this is an example of a situation where you can earn good karma that will result in a good outcome in the future, but not necessarily in this lifetime. But we also may have negative karmic debts to pay, which could result in some bad things happening. And there's one other possibility that we came up with, and that is that possibly we prearrange to have illness or poverty or bad luck happen to us because, like it or not, those things can be a valuable learning experience. Are there maybe lessons for us to learn about helping others in bad circumstances to strengthen our soul's characteristics? It's important to remember that God experiences and evolves himself through the free will actions of all of us, good and bad. So this God model that we present is perhaps unique in proposing the possibility that God evolves himself through all of the actions of his creatures.
That's a good point. Let's go to the calls for both of you. Let's start it off by going to Ron in Missoula, Montana, west of the Rockies. Welcome to the show. Hi, Ron.
Hi, George.
Good to have you with us.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. And I've heard you talk about it a lot, about what was there before the universe.
Exactly.
And I'm going to throw out a wild speculation tonight, and maybe some other callers will have theirs. But I'm going to say there was a burning bush.
Explain.
Well, before there was the universe, there was a form of God that the Bible says he appeared as a burning bush in, I think, Genesis or Exodus. And so this burning bush is floating in this black backdrop with a glow around it. And basically, we're the glow.
The burning bush, of course, being the symbolism. What do you think of that, Marsha or Bernie?
I think that could represent the consciousness of God, the cosmic consciousness.
It's only representation because, there's a huge difference between a burning bush and the universe. And
but it's a symbolic representation that the caller can identify with, is what I think is possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Will we ever really get the real answer?
Well, you probably will get it, in our view, after you die. When you die, you'll discover happily that you're still alive, but in a different place and with perhaps with more opportunities to have than you would have here for both education and learning about the God who made it all. So
David Alexander experienced God as this deep, black, velvety knowingness that was just a beautiful, warm ball of love.
I guess I would suggest if you want to pursue this further, you get some of the better books on near-death experiences, and you'll actually find out, I think, what really happens. So they're real experiences of real people, and check that against your model.
Joe in Monterey, California, welcome to the program. Hey, Joseph.
Thank you for taking my call. Okay, I like hands-on. I like field work. I like to do things, and I like to meditate and go into these higher worlds of multi-level or multiverse. And there's a lot of beings there, but beyond that, what the Hindu calls the absolute, which is the quantum field, there's no duality there. I was in self-realization. I think you know that word, self-realization, for like 36 hours. I was in cosmic consciousness for 4.5 years. I know what these consciousnesses are and what they do and how a person experiences them. But the most important thing is that the scientists are right about the quantum field, and there's no duality. There's nothing to equate it with. But beyond that, there are levels in this quantum field, or the absolute. What we can consider God, it's just endless. And one of my experiences in deep within it was a tremendous sound, like an orchestra, and all its instruments playing simultaneously. Tremendous sound. I was there for a split second, and I came back because it was very intense and painful to my consciousness. I did not have I was not conscious of this lower world or a manifest world, but an unmanifest beingness, or what you would call consciousness, pure consciousness.
Are you saying, Joe, you went to the other side?
I went beyond the other side, way beyond the other side. The other side is not even a pit stop. I mean, the entire astral plane is neither. It's not worthy of even talking about. I was using my soul body, a spark of God, to travel into its world, the world of God, its world.
Bernie, what is beyond the other side? Is there anything?
Well, I think the answer is no. If you believe in the theory of relativity that Einstein developed back in the 1920s, the general theory of relativity, and that shows you how there might be different shapes to universes, different shapes for different universes, and some of them would fall back into themselves after a certain amount of time and become, well, perhaps a residue for another run as a universe.
Are you trying to just say there are other dimensions of reality? Because I think that's what the caller was talking about. There are other dimensions of reality. When we were asked earlier about the multiverse, we were thinking of the mathematical constructs that physicists and quantum physicists do, but there are other higher dimensions of awareness. I think that's what we're talking about here.
Let's go to Dan in Buffalo. Welcome to the program. Hey, Daniel, go ahead.
Hello. Is the sound okay?
Yeah, you're okay.
All right. I have a theme. It's that of science trying to catch up with theology. And I can cite enough examples, but when you have science guests on, there's a good chance I'm listening. And I've heard, like some, I think, very conscious references to Genesis,
right,
from these people. And one of them said something about the ocean of primordial molecules. Of course, and I think either you or a guest said that there was there might have been evolution driven by God and things like, which of course is hitting on something.
Sure.
But I mean, the thing is, Scripture is so eloquent in spelling these things out. I mean, the Hebrew Scriptures had the earth as a sphere. Actually, the word for sphere is the same as circle in ancient Hebrew, but a sphere hanged on nothing. This is when the Greeks had Atlas holding it up. And it goes on. I mean, Genesis is very specifically talking about how every leaf, every herb, every seed was laid down before it grew. That's so obviously genetics that they're talking about, which is named after Genesis. But and it goes on and on, and again, science really huffing and puffing, trying to keep up or catch up. And there's so many ways it can. I mean, and I've been wanting to talk about this. I love listening to your science guests. I really do. And I at this point right now, I'm sort of like a little too flustered to go on. But I mean, I've got so much of this.
Well, you keep in touch with us, Dan. I love what you're talking about. And Bernie, he's pretty spot on, don't you think?
You got some good ideas there.
Yeah, I think it's just important to remember what I said earlier about science being a different way of looking at the world. It's a way of measuring the physical world around us. It doesn't have anything to do with spirituality. We're trying to bridge the gap. That's what we're trying to do.
Marsha, where do we get your books, The Miracle of Our Universe?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. You know, I want to announce that our book is being launched tonight as we speak.
How about that for timing?
Yeah, well, we timed it for that because tomorrow is the first day that it will be available. So you can get it on Amazon, and you can get it on any of the major book websites or the stores like Barnes & Noble and Target and Walmart and Thrift Books. Just search for the title of our book, and you'll find all the options.
Bernie, didn't Einstein believe in God?
You know, I think he did, but he was a little bit squirrely about it. He always couched his remarks about God into references to the Great Old One or some other German word. So he did believe in God, but it was a little bit dicey about being associated too much with an organized God, with organized religion. So it was kind of a private thing for him. But he did definitely write about that in his letters to his friends and colleagues.
Yeah. So according to Mario Livio, who wrote about the fact that the universe seems to be designed by a pure mathematician, Einstein was very interested in this perspective himself. He said, how is it possible that mathematics fits so excellently with the objects of physical reality? So I didn't get to say anything about how important music is in the world because it's so mathematical. And I postulate in the model that music is really, because of its mathematical construct, can be seen as the voice of God. It's pervasive all over our society. It undergirds our planet, really. It's impossible to get away from it. Plato and Pythagoras believed that the real world of mathematical forms really did exist. So,
interesting how our caller Joe from Monterey talked about music on the other side.
Yeah, he did. And so I believe music is the voice of God. Johann Sebastian Bach was able to devise all of modern music by using his system of tuning that was based on this 12th root of 2. And it's how he tuned all major and minor keys without any conflict between them. And, you know, the aspects of rhythm, time signature, and other notations are also mathematically seen. So I just think that what that guy said about the music on the other side means maybe he was hearing the voice of God.
It could have been. Could have been. James in Virginia. Go ahead, James.
Hey, George.
Hi there.
Hi, Marsha and your husband. I hope the music he was hearing wasn't heavy metal, because that might not be a good sign that he was in the right place. Anyway, George, you never going to get the beginning of everything unless you go to the Bible. It says, as the Lord says, I'm the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. So it kind of tells you right there that he's the beginning and the end. And nothing. And if you want to know what the end is, that's still going to be the Lord, still going to be there at the end. So, George, you're real nice to let me name my book, but I also want to ask them a question. You want me to ask the question first, or could I name the book first, or what would you prefer, sir?
Get the book out of the way, then go for the question.
Okay, thanks, George. It's about the end of times, and it's what we're in now. So don't be deceived by the title. But it's called "Blessed with an Angel and a Rainbow," and I appreciate that, George, very much. Okay. I believe that, and you can see what you think. I think we all have a space in us that's empty for either the Lord or inviting evil in, or evil comes in automatically because he forces his way in. And God wants us to ask for him to come into us to fill us. And that's why we're on this planet, because we ate from the wrong tree. And God said, okay, I'm not going to force you to choose me. I'm going to put you on, curse you, and put you on this planet and let you live there in these bodies. And you're going to choose whether you want me or you want the devil. But we're not part of God, because if we were part of God, then when we sin, that would mean God sinning with us. And what you're calling, this recouping from the sin, that would be like Hitler when he was in power. Would he be part of God was in him too? But yet he was still forgiven over time and not just sent to hell because of what he did. I appreciate an answer if you guys will.
All right, which one of you two want that?
I guess I could talk about it. Do you want to say anything too?
Well, just to say that we talked about karma, and Hitler certainly has there's no doubt he has a lot of karma to work off.
A huge amount of karma, yeah. I mean, he would have to work that all out. But like we said before, we didn't really believe in a physical eternal hell where there are fires burning throughout eternity. I mean, Hitler would be in a negative karma hell that he would have to work off. But, even Hitler was a spark of God. I mean, God learned a heck of a lot through what Hitler did. I mean, the negative side for sure, but, it was the free will that made all of us grow a bit. But I think Hitler could work it off eventually. You think so? Yeah.
A couple of billion years.
It might be a billion years. I'm not saying that I thought he did anything that was valuable for our planet, really. Certainly not spiritual.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I've always believed reincarnation was a process of getting better and better and better. The more times you come back, the better you get. And it may take him, like you said, 1 million times to get to a point where he's a nice guy.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Probably would.
Might even be your neighbor.
He's got a long road ahead of him.
Yeah.
How's that?
Long road home.
Very long road.
Marsha, take a minute and talk about your website and your links to Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, good. So, our website is themiracleofouruniverse.com. It's all run together. And you can go there and you can read a little bit more about what we present in the book and read our bios and events that are going on. And our Facebook page is on Facebook, and it's the same title. You just type in The Miracle of Our Universe, and it'll come up on Facebook. On Instagram, it's Marsha Sims 40. And it just sort of happened, that title, and I didn't change it because, I get tired troubleshooting tech, and that's the name that came up, and so I went with it. But I didn't get to tell you about the zero-point energy and our company, Jovion.
We'll come back and talk about that after the break and take final calls with you on Coast to Coast AM. And like she said, the book is just coming out, The Miracle of Our Universe, but we'll be back with final calls in a moment. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie back with our final segment with Dr. Bernard Haisch and Marsha Sims, their book, The Miracle of Our Universe. And before we take final calls, Marsha, you wanted to talk about the zero-point field. Tell us what it is and its tie-in to God.
Okay, well, so I spoke earlier about how God created the Big Bang, which started up the simulation of the physical universe. Well, right after the Big Bang came the zero-point field. So that's how it's tied into God. And this field represents the underlying energy that is everywhere in the universe, even where there is nothing but vacuum. And it's composed of every frequency or wavelength that exists. It's perfectly random. It's an infinite source of energy, and it was already known to Einstein and Max Planck. And so what's special about what Bernie and I have been doing with the company Jovion, Jovion, is that we believe that the ZPF, or zero-point energy field, can be tapped in a way that would provide humanity with an endless supply of totally clean energy without violating the second law of thermodynamics. Our process has nothing to do with heat because it's electromagnetic. So there's a Casimir force that happens when two parallel metal plates are pushed together by an overpressure of the ZPE from the outside of the plates. This energy can be manipulated through the use of Casimir cavities by squeezing out photon energy. Electron orbitals of an atom spiral down inside the cavity and photons are emitted. Our process then sends the photons through a photovoltaic cell, and electricity will then be generated. The ZPF acts like a kind of catalyst, and we call this process, or this device that we would use, is called the Casimir generator, which is already patented. And Bernie and Garrett Modell founded the company Jovion. I'm the CEO. And you can read all about our device and our theories and our science if you go to our website, www.jovion.com.
Very good. Let's go back to the phones. West of the Rockies, Nancy's with us in California. Hi, Nance. Go ahead.
Hi, George and Bernie and Marsha.
Hi.
Hi.
This is very simple to me. I've been wanting to tell George what made the Big Bang.
What made it happen, Nance?
Well, I'm very simple-minded, but I believe in God consciousness. I believe that Lucifer was kicked out of heaven from God's kingdom, and that's what made all this light come down.
By kicking him out, you think the Big Bang had started?
That's what I believe, because it's all light there, and he wanted to take control and make a better God than God is, so he was dispersed from heaven, and we're dealing with him now.
Bernie, what do you think of that?
Well, the zero-point field is brought into existence somehow by something that set off this enormous physics event before the black before the hang on a second.
Well, so she's speaking more of an entity that was expelled from heaven, Lucifer.
Yes.
But we're speaking from a more scientific perspective about the zero-point field that is pervasive everywhere, and that came out of the Big Bang. Now, I don't know. I mean, the Big Bang booted up the whole simulation of the universe. So I don't know. I can't say whether it would be an entity or just physical force. What do you think, Bernie?
Well, the zero-point field is the universal source of energy, and there's no doubt about that. It exists. It's a part of physics. You can derive its existence from the laws of physics of about 100 years ago, and that's unquestionably true. But now this is the manifestation of something more, something else besides time, besides energy.
Yeah, I think it's kind of difficult to say. I mean, we're taking a different perspective. I think the caller is taking more of a spiritual perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What are the possibilities, Marsha, that none of this is real? There are some who believe we live in a simulated universe.
Well, that's what our model says in the book, that we do live in a simulated universe. Right. It's a virtual reality.
Yeah. We're not real. They can erase us anytime they want. Huh?
Yeah. Well, we're real right now. Yeah.
You stub your toe, it sure feels real.
It sure feels real right now, yeah.
First-time caller Benjamin's with us in Oklahoma. Hey, Ben, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I was saying 2 points. If everything was random, a lion would have a feet like a bird and teeth of vegetarians. What's the intelligent design that decides that they have everything they need to survive? And point number 2 is someone told me that if you give an atheist a lie detector test, you ask them, is there a God? They say no, but they always fail.
Interesting take on that. I don't know what an atheist under a lie detector test would do, because they truly believe there isn't a God, Marsha.
Well, so you can believe in a God by allegory. If you have an experience, you can't scientifically prove the existence of God, so it's difficult. I mean, I think you learn on the other side what's over there. Yeah. You were asking me about the virtual universe. It seems like it's physical matter and energy, but when you think about how atoms are constructed, because, the traditional way or model of an atom is where you had a nucleus and then you had electrons orbiting it, and you could see them on these little circles going around the atom, and then they had their different little rings. Orbitals, yes. They had their little orbitals. But now the modern view of an atom is that the nucleus is surrounded by a field of probability. You can't really tell where the electron is at any point in time. And so this makes it more seem like we are in a simulation, because what makes that electron be to the left of the nucleus or to the bottom of the nucleus or the right of the nucleus? We don't know. It's bouncing all over the place. And so if you're sitting in an armchair, you're really sitting in a field of probability by quantum physics laws. Does that help?
It does. Let's go to Joe in Long Island, New York. Hey, Joseph, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. This is from Marsha. Also, fat-soluble B1, not water-soluble, fat-soluble B1. You could read on Google, an Italian consortium of doctors found that it reverses Parkinson's disease in some cases. But, Marsha, you were talking about swimming, so I have two questions about that. The incident itself, you said you saw some people. Did you ever see them since? And then my other question is, you said you're a good swimmer, and you're saying that based on swimming a lot. But if someone's trying to evaluate what they should do, say you only play golf once in a blue moon, and you want to evaluate whether you want to do that more, or, when they say think outside the box, I would say there's probably some people that could be like a DiCaprio-level actor that never thought of acting. How do you expand your thinking consciously to evaluate what you should do?
Oh, you asked me like three questions. First of all, I want to say that we are aware of the B1, and we've tried it, but we're still trying to figure out how to properly use it, because it has helped Bernie. We were giving him some shots. There's an Italian doctor, Costantini, who had done a lot of research on that, but unfortunately he's no longer with us because COVID took him down. But his research he published on PubMed, and we were very intrigued by that. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. And then the other question you wanted to know about, how do you figure out if your activity is good for you or not, like physical exercise? I mean, for me, swimming is amazing because it exercises every part of my body, and it's not fighting gravity. So I find when I swim, my back is more limber, my arms are more limber. I mean, I just feel better overall. So do you feel that way when you play golf? I think that's how you would evaluate it. You want to see, am I feeling better as a result of this or not?
How did you know you were a good swimmer, Marsh?
How do I know?
How did you know?
Well, because I swim all the time, and I can keep up with people pretty well, and I do laps daily. I do about 30 laps.
If you weren't, you probably would have drowned that day.
I would have drowned that day. But like I said, I was able to keep myself afloat by treading water, etc. I couldn't really do the crawl or the freestyle because the undertow was pulling me out, and I wasn't getting anywhere. That's why I just kind of treaded water. And then I eventually just went back and floated and kind of, how you use your hands to kind of, move in and out. And
Doggy paddle.
Pardon me?
It's a dog paddle.
Yeah, well, no, I was on my back. I was floating on the sea of love and light. I didn't really have to do anything. My ancestors were holding me up. Honestly, that's what I experienced.
Saying, somebody come get me, right?
Yeah. A surfer came out and got me, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd they get you to shore? Did some boat come out too?
No, it was just on a surfboard. He knew how to navigate the currents. He came around in a big circle, and he circled around it instead of trying to go with it or against it. He came from the outside and circled in and got me and circled me out of it. It was kind of amazing. I mean, it was like God just put him there to rescue me because I don't know otherwise how I would have gotten out.
See, and to make the story really phenomenal, you turned to thank him after you got to shore.
Yeah.
And he was gone.
My dad gave him $100.
John in Ventura, California. Hey, John, go ahead.
Hey, George, thanks a lot. And fantastic program tonight, folks. And I thank you for putting Dr. Bernie and Marsha on. I look forward to getting your book, The Miracle of the Universe. This is just a fantastic program. You guys have sparked so much. I would just say I have several books, and the last book ever written from this time traveler who gave it to me just before he took off, literally, and just blows my mind because he's writing the stuff that you're talking. He talks about the thing that people are looking for is the consciousness of God. He gives a form of how all black holes have a white hole, and it also he backs it with scripture. There's a double vortex is what he talks about, which is interesting because he also relates science with it. When Francis Crick and James D. Watson at one point where they talked about the double helix. There's some really connective things you guys are talking about, and I mean this book. I'd love to be able to read it or give it to you, George, or whatever. But this is amazing.
What's the name of it?
Well, he wrote it, and he was giving it out. He wasn't charging a thing. The name's it's kind of a long name, but it basically says the godly revelation of the intelligent designer versus Satan's theory of evolution.
Wow, that is a long title. We're almost out of time, John. And Marsha and Bernie, I want to thank both of you for being on the program. Bernie, keep us updated about your health situation, will you?
Sure will, George. Thank you.
Yes,
right.
Thank you for caring. We really appreciate your compassion.
He's one of the good guys, Marsha. You got a good guy there.
Oh, he is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, you take care of yourself. Up next, Hollywood's Mart Zikri joins us. We'll talk a little bit about the 5-month-old Hollywood writers' strike and what it means to television and film, but then we'll talk about the things that Mark's been doing.